Yo, what's going on? It's like 2 a.m. in the morning. But, let's get a video out early. I saw this on my timeline. I was on my computer looking at the Monday Night Raw highlights while I was on here. I just saw this. Anyways, let's get right into it. This is going to be the only video we do for now. The rest of the videos will come later on, probably at 2 p.m. Anyways, let's go.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Marvel just released a new Avengers promo, and they're officially changing the name of the Thunderbolts movie to The New Avengers. It's one of the first times I can think of them changing a name for a movie this big in the second week of its release. There have been times when movies have had their titles changed, but typically it's been in much smaller ways, or they've waited till well after the movie has left theaters to change the name. Some of the more notable examples were X-Men Dark Phoenix. Originally it was released as just Dark Phoenix, then they added the X-Men to the title for SEO purposes, hoping that that would get people into the theaters faster, like, oh, we'll call it an X-Men movie. When Birds of Prey was first released, they called it Birds of Prey in the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, and then changed the title to Harley Quinn Birds of Prey as another SEO kind of optimization, just to make it simpler. Those were definitely marketing stunts, but they were way more subtle than what Marvel is doing. They literally just changed the name on their official website too. Some movies like Tom Cruise's Live, Die, Repeat had different names in theaters, then after it finished in theaters, they changed the name to Edge of Tomorrow. The original Star Wars movie, probably one of the best examples of this phenomenon. George Lucas also waited till after the movie had played its initial run in theaters till Empire Strikes Back was getting ready to release before he started referring to it as Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. So if you've noticed, the cast has been doing all these celebrations, ripping the title off so that it shows New Avengers on all the posters. Even Sebastian Stan, in real life, has been going around Los Angeles putting up these New Avengers parts of posters to change the actual titles around bus stations like this. So we'll explain why they're doing this, what this means for the movie, whether or not this is going to actually hurt the movie's box office, like will this confuse people? There are a lot of you that predicted they would do something like this eventually at some point just because the Avengers brand is so recognizable. You would think Marvel would have wanted to release the movie with that instead just because it's a much stronger title than Thunderbolts with the asterisk. So if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. There is a plan at Marvel for this, and I don't think it's going to be quite as bad as a lot of people think that it might be for the actual movie itself. Like, I don't think it will dramatically hurt the movie's box office that it was already going to earn before they started calling it The New Avengers.
Little juicy nuggets. Little juicy nugget.
Mostly because if you actually go to a lot of online ticketing portals like Fandango or places where you buy movie tickets, the clickable links, like where you actually look at the schedules and the movie times, still read Thunderbolts is just the posters that they're actually changing with this little New Avengers thing. Like the actual picture of the team itself is the same. So it's not quite as significant as like a full-on title change if they'd changed the name at all the theaters. Like if you go to a theater and it just said New Avengers all over the place where you were going to buy tickets, then it would be a little bit different. But this is definitely Marvel trying to pull a marketing stunt, probably just experimenting because the movie's almost already made back its budget. So far, it's actually doing fairly decent. It's not earned quite as much as Captain America Brave New World domestically opening weekend, but the budget for the movie was dramatically less than Captain America Brave New World. It costs less than $200 million to make, so it doesn't need to make that much money in order to actually turn a profit. So I think the idea is that Marvel saw that it had more potential to actually make it into profit, so they were willing to actually try this kind of marketing experiment, and that's what it does feel like, more of a marketing stunt than them actually panicking behind the scenes thinking, oh, we need to call it The New Avengers, that'll get more people into theaters. But it is funny to see how hard they leaned into this. I actually just thought that this was going to be a one-off thing in a couple different theaters, a couple different places, but then the regular Marvel social accounts also started posting these promos for The New Avengers, calling that the movie. The way the director, Jake Schreier, explains the title, Thunderbolts with the asterisk, that was his idea when he was actually pitching the movie to Marvel. Like, whatever you do, use this title with an asterisk, then you can change it after the movie comes out. So it sounds like when Marvel was actually envisioning this movie, they were thinking about calling it The New Avengers. But if you remember, when they were initially pitching the script, like very early days, it started life as more of a Black Widow 2 sequel movie. There was always the scrappy team of anti-heroes that came together, like there was that basic plot, but they didn't have any of the new Avengers stuff going on at the end of the movie. That's what it eventually turned into. The Sentry was not part of that plot. They didn't add that till much later in the process after it had become a Thunderbolts movie. I will do a separate alternate ending, deleted scenes video, deleted subplots, because like originally, John Walker's US agent was going to replace Sentry as the main villain of the movie and be the one to, as they say, Hulk out, like when Val has that "We Have a Hulk" moment parodying the first Avengers movie with Loki and Iron Man. Sentry winds up being her Hulk. But one of the funny details here too is that Sebastian Stan says that when they were actually filming the post-credit scene, it was the Russo brothers that filmed it on the set of Avengers Doomsday, and that's how Florence Pugh got confused when they were doing interviews for the movie about them starting the filming for Avengers Doomsday.
Like as it comes in, I go, what's the number 4?
And I had to be like, what's the number 4 or what's the number 4?
So part of the idea, I think, is that this 14 months later scene is actually meant to take place at the very beginning of Avengers Doomsday, but the way the actual movie goes down, because it's probably going to wind up being over 3 hours, is they will still have to wind up cutting a whole bunch of storyline. They won't have time for all the different characters to get a ton of time on screen. So there might just be a scene in the movie that picks up right after the events of this post-credit scene with them meeting the Fantastic Four characters after they get off their ship in Manhattan, New York City. But because that post-credit scene raises a whole bunch of different plot points and a bunch of questions about how they're going to deal with all the different characters during Avengers Doomsday, first big one is, why are they going to have 2 Avengers teams at the beginning of Avengers Doomsday, and how can Sam Wilson file a trademark for the Avengers team name? How can he sue them legally to stop using the name? Who is going to be on Sam Wilson's new Avengers team that competes with their Thunderbolts' new Avengers team? The way they set things up in the movie here, this really is the beginning of Avengers Doomsday, is that those 2 different competing new Avengers teams will still be feuding, and he will still be threatening a lawsuit to file a trademark. Like, I think it's more of a threat at this point than him actually filing a lawsuit. Daredevil, a really good lawyer representing Sam Wilson so they can take the trademark. Here's where they actually repeat some of the stuff they did during Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, and what they were going to do when it was still Avengers Kang Dynasty, and there were a couple different directors and a couple different scripts for the actual storyline for that. In pretty much every version of the movie, Avengers Doomsday, Avengers Kang Dynasty, whoever was directing, there was always going to be a number of different teams fighting different battles in different locations, but there were going to be more different teams, more different locations than there were during Avengers Infinity War, where they had 2 different Avengers teams. Eventually, by the end of that movie, they merged into a single battle when Thanos came to Wakanda to take the rest of the Infinity Stones and snap the Infinity Gauntlet. It looks like something similar is going to happen during Avengers Doomsday, where even though we're mostly just focused on Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom coming to the MCU and messing with all the heroes, eventually collapsing the rest of the multiverse and then putting everybody on Battleworld that winds up surviving, or a version of the Void, or whatever they're going to call it. We basically just call it Battleworld for now.
Is that Thor? Is he crying?
Let's not get it.
He'll become God, Emperor Doom, and rule over that reality with total control. There'll be many, many survivors from other universes that wind up there. But it seems like during Doomsday, you will have a bunch of different teams fighting a bunch of different battles against different groups that Robert Downey Jr. is all pulling the strings. Like there'll be one group fighting him, he might have an ally or 2, but he's sort of taking the place of Thanos in this equation. Then you have another group of heroes fighting the characters that Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom assembles as his own team, like his own evil Avengers team kind of situation. But here's the interesting detail about how they're going to resolve these competing Avengers teams, Sam Wilson and Bucky's new Avengers Thunderbolts team. When people asked him about the Avengers Doomsday Chair Watch trailer, like, what about all these chairs here? Like, how's this going to work? Like, which of these characters are going to be good? Who are going to be evil? Kevin Feige actually said that it's going to be 5 teams of heroes working together to fight Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom. So he said it's going to be the original MCU heroes. Notice he didn't say the new Avengers, he just said the MCU heroes. The Wakandans, notice he treated them like a completely separate group, so that includes people like M'Baku, Shuri, Black Panther, as well as Namor, the people from Talocan. The original X-Men, which he treated like a completely separate team because they're coming from their own universe in the movie. A lot of the early first looks that we got of them filming scenes, Robert Downey Jr. in his Doctor Doom chair here, look like it's inside the X-Mansion in their universe, and a lot of the outdoor scenes seem like it's happening around the X-Mansion. So it seems like we will go to their universe for a little while in the movie before there's an incursion and they're brought to the MCU. Then he said the Fantastic Four, who are also coming from their universe like we saw during the Thunderbolts post-credit scene, they're a completely separate team. They're not including them on the new Avengers teams. And he also said the Thunderbolts characters, treating them like a separate team, at least at first. So I think part of the idea is that you have these 5 different teams that will then collapse and mix and match into a couple different pockets of teams fighting Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom team. And for those of you asking who's going to be on Sam Wilson's competing New Avengers team, at least at the beginning of Avengers Doomsday, like who would be on his team that he's putting together before they merge into a single team or they kill off most of the characters in that movie, I do think the Avengers Doomsday Chairwatch trailer gives you a pretty good idea of who's going to be on that team. So remember, Kevin Feige treating the Wakandans and the Thunderbolts characters like completely different teams, so when you're thinking about MCU characters. This means Sam Wilson's team, at least at the beginning of the movie, is probably going to start with Thor, Ant-Man, Shang-Chi, Falcon, Rhodey. He wasn't listed in Chairwatch, but he's supposed to be in the movie. Captain Marvel might wind up being on that team. Hawkeye might wind up being on that team. Even though I just did a video about how he's kind of feuding with Marvel and Disney right now, I still think he's going to be in one of these upcoming Avengers movies. Maybe Star-Lord winds up on that team temporarily. Doctor Strange, of course, and maybe the Hulk, assuming that he's also in both of these movies in some way. I think he's one of those characters they knew they were going to use, but they didn't put him in Chairwatch because there are going to be a couple twists with the way that they use him, and there'll be some multiverse versions of Hulk that we see in one or both of the movies. For the most part, Sam Wilson is going to take the original surviving Avengers with a lot of the most powerful, obvious characters to put on his team when the movie starts. But like I said, by the end of Avengers Secret Wars, when they remake the multiverse and things start to go back to normal mostly, but all the heroes wind up on the same Earth for the most part, with a few exceptions like the original X-Men going back to their universe. There will eventually be a merged New Avengers team where like some of the characters that you see on the New Avengers and the Thunderbolts movie have gone their separate ways or died off completely. And the same thing for Sam Wilson's New Avengers competing team too, where like some of the characters won't be on the team after Secret Wars. They'll go their separate ways. So that in Marvel Phase 7, when they start focusing on more X-Men stuff, there will still be a regular New Avengers team who is active, but it'll look very different. No trademark or copyright lawsuits necessary. There's a bunch of stuff happening this week. We're supposed to get a brand new Superman trailer really soon, and I'll try to post my alternate ending deleted scenes video because there were a lot of changes that they made to the movie during the edit and while they were still working on the script. So like really crazy changes. So be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss any of that. This all feels a little bit like a Deadpool kind of joke, but if it does work for Thunderbolts, like it actually earns more money because of the name change, don't you expect them to start doing this more often to their movies? Click here for that video. I'll update the link as soon as I post it, and click here for my Thunderbolts post-credit scene.
I don't know, I just feel like they shouldn't have to do that. I said only one video, but I'm gonna do 2. Why not?